Today we're going to do a battery rundown test on the OPPO Find X9 Pro and the OnePlus 15. Now these two devices are pretty similar, and it's really about the best way that we can really compare the two latest flagship chipsets, Dimensity 9500 from MediaTek and the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 from Qualcomm. Now the OPPO does have a slightly larger battery at 7,500, while the OnePlus has a 7,300 milliamp hour battery. But in our day-to-day testing, we found that the battery life is pretty much the same on both devices. So it'll be interesting to see how it compares in this battery rundown test. So we're going to do 2 hours of each app, starting off with the camera. But as you can see here, we're both at 100%. And we scroll down to battery health, both at our 100% there. And power saving, all the same settings here. Now when it does get down to 2%, it will automatically jump into power saving. There's no way to turn that off on OPPO, OnePlus, Realme devices. So unfortunately, we do have to deal with that. But we're going to start off with 2 hours of video recording in 4K 60. And we'll see where the percentages are at once that is finished. So after 2 hours of recording at 4K 60, we're looking at 76% on the OPPO Find X9 Pro, 79% on the OnePlus 15. So that's a 3% difference, which it's not that surprising to see such a small difference. I mean, even though there is a bigger battery here on the Find X9 Pro, that does kind of come down to the processor and ISP that is inside each one of these devices, which are different because Qualcomm has their own ISP. MediaTek, I believe, uses an ARM ISP that's off the shelf. But now we're going to jump into YouTube and play 2 hours of YouTube at 4K resolution. And let's get started. So after 2 hours of playing YouTube 4K resolution on full screen, we're looking at 60% here on the OPPO Find X9 Pro, which I believe is about a 16% drop. Also 16% on the OnePlus 15, which is now also at 63%. So after 4 hours, we're into the 60% range, still about 3% gap. So I kind of expect that to continue throughout the entire battery drain test here. Now we're going to jump into 2 hours of Subway Surfers. So after 1 hour of Subway Surfers, we're down to 51% here on the OPPO Find X9 Pro, 48% on the OnePlus 15, which is a little bit surprising. Not only has it caught up, has the Find X9 Pro caught up, it's actually beating the OnePlus 15 now. It now has a 3% advantage, which OnePlus 15 had a 3% advantage before. It was a pretty big drop over Subway Surfers. Now we're gonna let these two sit overnight. We're gonna let it sit for about 16 hours probably, and restart, or not restart, but continue the test tomorrow, just to see how much time or how much battery it uses overnight sitting in standby. So after about 16 hours of standby, actually closer to 17, it looks like the OPPO Find X9 Pro did pretty poorly. This is not something we normally see when we've done standby tests with it already during our review process. But it did lose about 18% versus the OnePlus 15 only losing 8%. We were expecting closer to 2 to 3% difference between the two, but that's what we got. We're going to be testing them again against other devices, so we'll see if that changes. But that's how it starts. And now we're going to jump into 2 hours of Instagram Reels. So now we are down to, or we've done 2 hours of Instagram on both devices now, and we are down to 19% here on the Find X9 Pro and 29% on the OnePlus 15. Now, of course, the big difference here is that standby was actually much better on the OnePlus 15 versus the Find X9 Pro, which is a bit surprising considering it's almost the same software. Color OS 16 versus Oxygen OS 16. So it kind of comes down to how well optimized it is for Qualcomm versus MediaTek. So the next test is going to be going back to 2 hours of doing the camera. Now, because this is down to 19 and 29%, I don't think either one is going to make it through 2 hours of camera recording. And once it hits 2%, it will automatically go into I believe it's called the extreme battery saver mode, and you won't be able to use the camera. So once one of these, most likely the Find X9 Pro, drops into that mode, we are going to switch both of them over to YouTube and play that likely until it's dead. That way it's still fair to both devices. Okay, so now that the Find X9 Pro is down to 2%, we're going to stop the video recording on both and jump into YouTube. And continue that video that we were on already. So the OPPO Find X9 Pro ended up with 8 hours and 22 minutes in this battery test, while the OnePlus 15 won with a score, or with a time, of 9 hours and 9 minutes, which this is our first battery test, but it is right now the current champion.